What's up, gamers? We are live with Mekel Kasanova on the Shackcast episode uh, 45 here, and I just pulled up the wrong scene. There we go. That's so much better. Behind the scenes. But yeah, this is Mekel Kasanova, content creator, Hawaii's #1 podcaster, okay? He is a gamer, an independent journalist, husband and father. Mekel, why don't you tell us a little more about yourself, dude?
I don't know what else to say. I mean, you kind of knocked it out of the park. I'm gonna make you my hype man going forward.
Right?
No, welcome everyone. My name is Mekel Kasanova, Hawaiian content creator. Been at this for coming up on a decade. No,
Wow.
actually, no. Wait, this is 2024.
Yeah.
It
It probably is 10, right? Yeah.
Take 10 years in on this. It's crazy. Yeah, so it's been a journey, going from being someone who loves gaming, loves tech, and reading all the magazines and such as a kid, articles, blogs, websites, and then deciding to finally just get into it. And 10 years later, here we are.
Wow. And so what brought you to like your passion of gaming and stuff like that?
So this is something I don't often get to share. So I'm originally from Western Samoa. I'm from a little village called Mosula Satabatea. And basically, I didn't speak English until I was like 7 or 8 when we moved to the United States because my dad was ex-military. And so what got me into like gaming was just having to read so much of like the JRPGs and the RPGs and all the different games back then, is I had to overcome not only the language barrier but also dyslexia too. And so gaming was the one way that my mom was able to get me to just like get into like reading and everything like that. And because of that, I've just built such an attachment to it because gaming also helped me with like seeing things differently. Like when I would like, okay, let's hop in the DeLorean and go back. You play Final Fantasy VI, or you play something like Brandish or any of those old games, and you're looking at pixels, right? You may not think, oh, it's going to be cinematic, but like when you're reading the dialogue and you're like using your imagination, it's just like you're creating worlds right there in front of you. So that right there just was the big thing for me with gaming. Like that instilled my love for it on top of it helping me with English. So yeah.
That's so awesome. I can't imagine there would be any games at that time period that would be in Samoan, would it? Like at all? Like zero
Nope.
accessibility on
Nope.
that. So you had to learn the hard
Nope.
way and adapt, and that's so cool that gaming was like a shelter for you in a way. It taught you all these things and gave you something to do as well, keeps you safe and gives you a hobby that you can treasure. So you started getting into content creation. How'd your wife get involved? Where does she show up during this plan?
So she got into content creating, I want to say around like getting her feet wet in 2016, and then 2017, that's when like I was like, hey, you like gaming, you like anime, you like manga, why don't you, start making content about it? So like we remember we went and got her the monitor you see behind, if you can see it. It's probably blurred. But we got like monitor set up, desk, everything, got her everything she needed to get started. And so it was just like the journey for her figuring out, okay, so this is the trend of gaming content, anime content, but how do I want to do it myself? But like also, how do I make it so that it catches attention for people, but it's also not cookie cutter in a way? Because that's the hard thing about content creating. For those of you who don't understand, it's like trying to make content that you enjoy, but also is relevant for viewership too. And like, so for her, that was like the journey of 2017, and then 2018 and on. Like she's just developed into her own, doing games, tech, interviewing voice actors and such, and just so much more.
That's awesome. And so then this evolved into the podcast, which is about anime, right? That has
Yep.
you and her on it, right? Tell
Yeah,
us a little bit about that. Yeah, you got to brag on all of your podcasts, but we're starting with the wife because she's really important. You know?
the her podcast, I want
Hmm.
to say that started 20 either 2018 or 2019, but
Hmm.
she had another it was her and one of her friends. They started the podcast Across Worlds, or paw for short, paw in short.
Yeah.
So that started with her friend, and it was basically they're just two people who love anime and manga, and they would just like do weekly episodes. And then like as time went on, and then we got into the pandemic era, which she decided she wanted to like have it a bit more focused than what it was. And so she wanted to restructure it, have it have like intro, outro, having guests and such on. She had temporary hosts with some of our other friends. And then I want to say within the last year or two, I offered to hop on the show and be a co-host with her. And then it's just been going from there. I mean, we interviewed Caitlin Glass from a lot of stuff. She's in Solo Leveling, that new anime that's out. She's Cammy in Street Fighter 4, 5, and 6,
Oh man.
and so much more. We've had her, other guests on. We just recently did an interview with Dorothy Fawn. We've got some coming up soon with Richard Epcar, Stephen Bloom eventually, and so many more. So it's been surreal for her and surreal for me too.
Dude, that's so awesome. So where's that fascination for anime come from?
For her or for me? Or
For
both?
both. Yeah. Absolutely.
Uh,
We have to
I
know.
think so. I think for us, it's really just a matter of because of where we come from. Like we're both
Hmm.
from small islands that, I mean, not really underdeveloped, but like they're not like a big city. It's very country in a way. Like she's from Molokai,
Okay.
which is one of the seven islands, or eight islands if you include Las Vegas, because people leave Hawaii and go
Oh
to
man.
Las Vegas. And no, we call it the ninth island. Never
Oh
mind,
my
that's the
god.
eighth island. So anyway, I got that confused. No, so she's from Molokai, which is close to Big Island and Maui. And where she's from, like there's just not a lot outside, like farmland and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
for her, I know it's just more so like the creativity in the worlds and everything is so different than our everyday reality.
Yeah.
And when you think back to like the early 2000s, when a lot of us were teenagers, it's like
Hmm.
we didn't have social media and all the stuff that we have now. I mean, it was there, but it was more so forums. But like when you wanted to like get into something, really all you had was like whatever you could find or you could find online. It wasn't as widespread as it is now. So for her,
Hmm.
she got into it. It really captured her. She's still a daily manga reader,
Wow.
still a daily anime watcher. We're getting our kids into it. For me, pretty much the same thing. There's not a lot going on in Samoa, so like being able to like read that, or read the mangas, or watch the anime, just stuff that you would never think of creatively, or things you're not exposed to. And then too, I think is also because back then it wasn't popular to be into that, so you got criticized. Whereas like now, it's like everyone's
Oh,
into it. So it's
everyone's a weeb now.
it's it's so crazy how mainstream so many things have become in like the last 10 to 15 or 20 years.
Yeah, and it's an incredibly good thing too, I think. I mean, because we used to get made fun of and mocked and stuff for being a nerd or into video games or anime or any of this stuff, but now it's all so mainstream that it's like
Hmm.
even your bully's gonna love it. He's gonna be like, "Oh, you like that too?" It's my favorite show. Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, so Podcast Across Worlds is one of the shows. One of the other ones that you have is called Decked Up. Tell us a little bit about that one.
Yes, sir. So Decked Up, a gaming and tech podcast. Originally it was called Decked Up, a Steam Deck podcast. And the reason I changed the name on that was because I didn't want to pigeonhole myself into a corner when it came to content because I didn't want to be like, we all know the channels that like anytime any news come out, no matter how big or how small, they cover it all.
Yeah.
It got to a point with the Steam Deck that I'm like, I'm covering stuff I don't care about. I don't just care about the Steam Deck. And right now, I don't even own the Steam Deck anymore. I sold mine. I was like, yeah, I mean, when the ROG Ally came out, I jumped on that and I love it. And then the Lenovo Legion Go, I'm 100% on board with that. I'm like, I can play everything I want without having to tinker to get it. And so when I created Decked Up, it was because I was already making guides and tutorials and videos on the Steam Deck. And so I was at a point where I was like, I might as well just start a podcast about it, you know, talk to other creators in the space. And so I did that. I want to say 2022 is when I started it. And then it's probably the most fun I have on any of my podcasts because I get to nerd out and talk about various different things. And it's expanded beyond Steam Deck. So I'm talking about other handheld gaming PCs. I'm talking about laptops, Switch, you know, console gaming, just various tech that's coming out, things that interest me. And I'm still trying to find that happy medium balance of like what's relevant versus what I actually want to talk about, and is there any overlap?
Yeah.
It's fun. It's one of my most popular podcasts. I'd say in video format is probably more popular than the Kasanova Podcast, which is my main show. But you know, I guess it's just because it's so niche down. Like I've niched down so hard on that show that when people come to that show, it's like, all right, we know where we're getting. Whereas Casanova Podcast can be anything, anyone. So.
It's so broad. Yeah, I was kind of worried about the exact thing that you brought up when I heard about the title of your podcast. I was like, oh, but the Steam Deck was like the only one in the space at the time. And I was like, this guy has locked himself in a corner and like, it's just going to be Steam Deck versus Switch. And then all of a sudden we started seeing this barrage of handhelds coming in and all this competition in the space, you know, cloud on Microsoft stuff, you know, and all these new handhelds coming in, the Switch having upgrades and potentially a successor to the Switch someday.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah. I'm begging them, please be competitive in this space that has gotten so crowded, you know. So so you said you got rid of the Steam Deck. What was so alluring about the other two handhelds that had you pick those up?
So my problem with the Steam Deck,
and I have one, just to say, I still have a Steam Deck. That's all I got. All right.
Okay. So I always have to preface this because people think I am this hater of the Steam Deck because I don't use it anymore. And I'm like, no, I love, for what it can do, the Steam Deck is amazing. If it's your one and only way of gaming on PC, that's perfect. You know, the problem I had with it was when, you know, because I don't just have a library on Steam. I have it on, you know, Epic Game Store, GOG. I've got, what's the one from EA and Ubisoft as well. And I just got to a point where a lot of games that were coming out, you got to do all this tinkering to get them to run different protons and different things to get it to run on the deck. And if it does run, there's always like some type of caveat with it. So when I saw that there were other devices coming out with Windows, I was like, all right, so I'm going to get to work around that. You know, I'm going to be able to really not have to side load on different launchers just to play these different games. I can just load everything from there. So when I got the the Ally, and keep in mind, I bought the Ally my own money. A lot of people keep saying, "Oh, you shill for them because they sent it." They did not send me. The only thing Asus has ever sent me is a backpack for a giveaway, which I've already done.
Nice.
Asus, when they came out with the ROG Ally and I got my hands on it, I was like, man, this has a great D-pad. I can just literally jump into any game on any launcher I want without any hiccups. The only thing I didn't like about it is just 3 different areas you got to update, which is the My Asus app, the ROG app thing that they have. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head right now. And then you got to do Windows.
Oh man,
that was the biggest annoyance. And then the battery is trash, but I can play everything I want. And I'm like, I'm not really traveling anywhere with it. I can just like plug it in wherever. So the battery's not that big of an issue for me. And then the Legion Go came out when they said Hall effect sticks. And that was a big selling point for me. And then I saw Dave 2D do his video because of course he always gets stuff. Shout out to him, big fan of his channel. When I saw him do his video on the Legion Go, I was like, all right, okay. So he said the D-pad isn't very good for fighting games, which is the main thing I play.
Oh.
So I was like, okay, I can get around it. I think I can get around it. Can I please get around it? And I got it. And I'm like, I can't get around it, but it's great for everything else. Oh. So I go back and forth between those two. And then it just got to a point where I was like, I don't see a need for my Steam Deck anymore. And then my wife and we share devices. So like there's no point in her even having either because she plays on other platforms as well. So hers and mine, we ended up selling them, and all we use now is, if not our gaming desktops, and we use the Legion Go, or we go with the ROG Ally. And a lot of people, I don't know, they just think I hate the deck. I'm like, I don't. I'm like, the OLED looks nice.
Yeah.
But I don't have a need for it.
If it's limiting, I mean, everyone has their own preferences, right? I mean, that's what all these are for, is that, it doesn't pay to own all of them necessarily. It's probably best to niche down and figure out which one works for you, which one has the features that you desire. Which I think the hardest thing is those thumbsticks on the Steam Deck. I really don't like that placement. They're like all the way at the top, and I really struggle gaming with those.
It made me not want to play shooters at all because of that placement.
Or any action game.
Which is why, like, I love, like, the placement.
Oh, man.
Of the Ally.
See, that's so perfect. Good. That makes sense. It feels like a controller, more or less. It has logical layouts. Oh my gosh.
But I'm probably gonna get rid of it because with the MSI claw that's coming out, it's basically a better version of the Ally with a much bigger battery life, and I think they're gonna have a 1 terabyte model, and it's got Hall effect sticks and triggers. So,
see, I think that's another thing that's starting to pick up in the space is the Hall effect sticks. We're starting to see those on more controllers now, where it's been a while since we have seen them, because I think PS3 and Dreamcast both used Hall effect sticks, but then we didn't see anything for the longest time because, manufacturers would like us to keep buying controllers every time they give up. It's a great way to make a profit, especially when they're $60-$70 a pop. But now, they're starting to realize, like, wow, our people actually want quality. They just want to buy one controller, a year or per generation maybe, and maybe have enough money to buy extras for player 2 and 3 or whatever. But, we don't want to be wearing out controllers, every couple of months or even within a year. I think is just kind of insane that stick drift became such a huge problem. And then who ends up paying for it? It's usually like the Nintendo or whoever you're shipping it back to. They're taking on all that cost, and it can't be good for them either. So, I mean, it probably pays to start making better stuff. So I think my new motto for like 2024, I guess, here is if it doesn't have fall effects, I'm not buying it.
Which that brings up something
Mm.
like with the DualSense Edge controller, right?
Yeah.
PlayStation could have put Hall effect sticks in here. They
Yeah.
didn't. And the reason is because they want you to buy stick replacements.
I
That's
don't
what it
want
is.
to though, man. I bought the controller.
Well, it goes back to what you said. Like, it's
Yeah.
literally they want to make a profit off of it. And people, as much as all of us would want it,
Mm-hmm.
every controller coming out or every device to have Hall effects sticks,
Yeah.
they're just not going to do it because they want to make as much money off of us as they possibly can. It's the sad reality of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I picked up the King Kong Pro 2. That one's Hall effects. I got 8-bit Dues, Ultimate Wireless Bluetooth. Those are both Switch controllers with Hall effect joysticks. And then I've got the GameSir G7, which is an Xbox controller, and it's got Hall effects, but it is a wired controller, so that is the only caveat on that. But I mean,
How are
that's kind of the way to do it. And I know a lot of the other ones, a lot of these other controllers that have swappable parts, like you said, are starting to sell those Hall effect sticks as like an add-on attachment, which, if you can afford those little modifications and these high performance controllers with, swappable parts, definitely the way to go.
Yep.
So can you tell us a little bit about Hawaii's #1 podcast? I'm not gonna let you live it down, man. It is.
that tagline,
Yeah.
which is true, by the way. That tagline gets me a lot of flack out here.
Yeah.
It's funny. Okay, so podcasting, as you know now, like everyone has a podcast now.
That's true.
But like you look back 10 years ago, or even 6, 7 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, not everyone was doing the podcast. So I got into podcasting back in 2016 is when I got into podcasting. And I got into it with my brother, Cameron. And basically, we were working together too. We were both Microsoft specialists that were helping out with the local Best Buy out here. And so we would always, like, our daily talks where we're supposed to be working, we're talking tech with the associates and talking tech with customers and just like selling things at the same time. But like the conversations we would have when we were working, we're like, why don't we like start a podcast and talk about that? And I was like, sure, but I don't know anything because I wasn't into podcasting back then. He's like, yeah, let's just get a mic and we'll just hit record and we'll just go ahead and do it. We'll do it at your house because you got a spare room. And we had the Blue Yeti. I think I have a picture on my Facebook. I'll find it after the show and send it to you. It is so grassroots. So we had a bar stool, a Blue Yeti we put on the bar stool. We had the old like gaming racing chairs you could buy from like GameStop and such. We were sitting on those, and like it's such a mess.
Humble beginnings, okay? That's where it started.
But like we would talk about everything, like stuff Microsoft was doing, the game and tech industry as a whole. We were both big Windows Phone users, big advocates of it, so we were talking about that. We didn't have any idea like audio editing software at all. We just literally I think we were recording using my Mac. We would just hit record and go. So you're hearing everything. If you need to catch the bus, you hear it in the background. It tell you what bus it is, what's the stop. So like if you're in Hawaii, our buses, I don't know if this is the same elsewhere, but like they'll say Aloha. This is the number 2 bus heading towards such and such. So like and where I was living at the time, the condo I had, basically over in Kapi'olani, it was like right where the main bus stop was right there. So every 5 to 10 minutes, you're hearing the bus in the background. And sometimes, like, we wouldn't even pause recording. We'd say,
Just let
"Hey,
it
we're gonna
run,
be
huh?
back." Yeah, like, guys, we're gonna be back in a couple seconds. Entertain yourselves, and we just go from there. But it's how we got into that. He ended up leaving Hawaii, going to Texas. He's there now with his family. And so I'm like, I still have all this equipment. Why don't I do something with it? So I started off just talking about tech, and it was various. At the time, I was ranting about various things in gaming and tech.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to a point where I was like, how do I evolve this? How do I get people that I like watching on YouTube? How do I get them as guests on my show? So I started reaching out, and that was when I actually started using Twitter. So or X, or whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
I started reaching out to various content creators at the time, like Lady Pelvic, Blandrew, Player Essence, a lot of these other folks to come on my show. And I think I didn't get Player Essence, but I got everyone else, Alvedon, Studio Nintendo, a lot of different people in the sphere. And then I got to a point where I was like, how about I go beyond content creators? What if I get a voice actor?
Oh.
And I had no idea how I could do that. And then I saw an announcement from Sega. I think this is either 2017 or 2018. They announced I can't think of the name of it. Shining Resonance Refrain, I think. It's in the Shining series. They announced that, and then I saw Griffin Burns had announced that he got the role. Now it's his first video game role, and I think at the time that was his second or third voiceover role ever. And Dorothy Fawn, legendary, iconic voice actress, she was the she was the female main lead. So both of them tweeted out. I tweeted to them. They got back to me. And those are my first two voice actors. And after I interviewed, so Griffin Burns was first. Then I got Dorothy Fawn. After Dorothy Fawn, I had Richard Epcar. And then from Richard Epcar, I had Ruben Langdon from Devil May Cry and Street Fighter. Then I had oh crap, forgot. They just dropped the trailer for Ed for Street Fighter 6. Ed Bosco. Bosco. I had him on, and then a bunch of other people, and it just kept going and going and going. And I was like, can I go beyond just voice actors? Can I get celebrities on?
Yeah.
So I was able to get actors like Isaiah Washington on. I had him on. I had a bunch of other folks on. And then I was like, what if I do a curveball? Can I get any other type? At that point, it was just like, who can I get on the show? And so, like, one of my most popular episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and I got to preface the audience and you with this, but my most popular episode was with an adult film actress.
Oh.
And that was the most popular one, and I got to peel back the veil of the adult entertainment industry and learn more about how the business side of that works and the scenes and all the breakdown. And people were like, I thought you were a gaming and tech. I'm like, yo, this is just this is the Breakfast Club, but for Hawaii. That's what my show.
Right.
But, I literally. I guess you could say the mission statement of the Kasanova Podcast was peeling back the veil and letting people see the behind the scenes of how these people got to where they are, where they're going, and what you can learn if you were interested in being in whatever position that they're in. If you want to be a voice actor, a Hollywood actor, or a screenwriter. Yeah, I had David Hayter on, one of the biggest ones I did, talking about how he got to be Solid Snake and everything else in between, how he wrote X-Men 1 and co-wrote on 2.
Mm-hmm.
It was crazy. It was crazy just seeing what all I could do with that show. And as I kept getting more and more guests, at one point I was having 1 to 2 guests per week, and that was like for like the ratings of the show. It jumped it on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Downloads were crazy because, you know, if I'd had folks on, they would reshare it, and, you know, you get additional viewership on that. And so I, you know, the show was number one. I'd say was, because past tense is not number one right now. Decked Up is number one. But, you know, I had to take a break from that show because I was going too hard on it. Like, I was, you understand this because you do podcasts and you do YouTube and content on social media. So you understand it's a lot of work that goes into that. And when you're going a million miles a minute, and at the time I was still working, I was working IT full time. So I was doing that full time. I was doing content creating full time. I was doing podcasting full time. And I eventually got to a point of burnout because I'm like, I have no time for myself. I barely have time to spend with, you know, my wife and my kids. And I was just like constantly, chronically on social media to the point where I'm trying to find what's trending. What are we talking about? And it got to a point where I wasn't having fun anymore. So like 2022, 2023, I really dialed back the Kasanova podcast. I think 2021 I did 15 no, I did 30 plus episodes in 2021. 2022 I did 15 episodes. Last year I did 5 or 7. And this year I plan to pick it back up, but like figuring out that workflow, because I'm like, I need to take my spot back from myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make that show
your own competition, your own worst enemy.
I mean, I've had other podcasters out here actually reach out to me, either wanting me to help them or trying to verify, like, are you really the number one podcast? Because, you know, you're talking about things that people in Hawaii aren't interested in. I'm like, well, here's the thing. It doesn't have to be the people in Hawaii are listening to it, because I don't focus on people here. I focus, Hawaii is a backdrop, and I'm focusing on a global audience by making my brand a global brand. Like, hey, if you're out here in Hawaii, stop by this spot. I'll be here recording. Like, we did something early last year. I want to say beginning of last year. I got invited over to Kenan Thompson's talent recruitment thing that he was doing.
Wow.
And so got to sit down with him, got to sit down with his agent, who I was it Charmaine? I can't think of her name right now. But I got to sit down and talk with her, do a podcast with her, do some stuff with Kenan Thompson, and just understand how, like, I guess the Hollywood industry is, how talent searches go. And they invited me to it over to the I did the entire interview at the Hard Rock Cafe on stage. So it was pretty crazy.
Wow.
Just the journey of being of everything I've wanted to do as a kid, and podcasting and YouTube and content creating have been like the vehicle for achieving that well into my 30s. That's crazy.
That's incredible. And so can you talk a little more about content creation and juggling all that, all the responsibilities that come with it, plus personal life, trying to, you know, find that perfect balance of being a father, all those things, husband. Staying fit, staying healthy, and also and also being number one podcast, and doing Decked Up, and doing podcasts across worlds, and making YouTube videos, independent journalism.
Man, it is a crazy journey. Shout out to Andrew Alliance in the chat. I see you. What's up, man?
Here he is.
It's crazy. Trying to balance all of this, and I feel like on a daily I am going through trying to, like, figure out, okay, what's the best way I can approach this? What's the best way I can approach that? You know, all while like juggling full-time parenting with, you know, a toddler that's almost 3. She'll be 3 in a month and a half. Trying to maintain the day-to-day of, you know, fitness and health. That was something, part of me taking off and dialing back a lot of stuff over the last year and a half was like, I'm like, I need to get my health in check.
Mm-hmm.
I because for those of you who don't know, I'm 6 years in remission from colorectal cancer stage 3, and I had a bit of a scare last year, which is why I had to get my health in check. So I was probably the heaviest I've been. I was 305. I was super depressed because of the burnout and everything like that. Plus, we had just moved into this new condo and just trying to get everything in order. And so, like last year, biggest thing I was doing was getting back on eating right, exercising. I actually dropped 100 pounds in a year.
Wow.
Right now I'm like 194. And it's just consistent exercise. But the biggest thing is like changing up my diet. But balancing physical, mental well-being, because mental health is very important. Balancing. I prioritize spending time with my kids because that's important. Try and do something different than my dad was never really around.
Mm-hmm.
That absence is very much felt. And so I don't want my kids to feel that. So I can't be the first to release something, but eventually I do get around to it. I try to spend a lot of time with my wife, which is interesting because a lot of people don't even know I'm married or even that she's married, because we don't talk about our relationship on social media a lot. Like occasionally we'll make a post and we'll say, oh yeah, you know, she'll say her husband or I'll say my wife.
Mm-hmm.
But balancing that out with keeping our relationship off of social media, because you see the people that always talk about their relationships and how much they love their person, their partner or whatever, and you kind of wonder, like, is everything really okay over there?
Or is this just projecting on social media the perfect marriage, right?
Yeah, so like we'll go out and people like will say to us like, well, we didn't know you guys were still married or were married or together. And we've been together closing in on 10 years.
Wow.
Been married. We just celebrated our 7-year marriage anniversary back in December.
Congratulations.
And, you know, we're doing good. And yeah, like just balancing that out. That's because you can never coast being a husband or a wife.
Mm-hmm.
You always got to be active. Same thing with being a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And then also picking and choosing what content I'm actually going to cover. You know, I had to realize, like, last year was crazy for game releases, for tech releases. I was trying to be on top of everything. I think I covered everything except for the Cyberpunk DLC and Persona Tactica.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only things I did not. Well, that and Star Ocean Second Story remake. I didn't cover that, but I covered everything else. And I realized I'm constantly covering things and I'm burning myself out and I'm not enjoying this. And it really had me at a point of considering quitting. But I'm like, all right, I love doing this. I love that this gives me the time to be with my family. But how about I just cut back and focus on what I care about? What are some titles coming out? Where's some tech coming out? And then, you know, just getting my Microsoft to do and, you know, figuring everything out on that, writing stuff down, and then shifting to shorts since YouTube is pushing it, every other platform is pushing it. And I just got to a point where I'm like, all right, I see this as the next trend. I see that long form content it's not going away, but it's not going to be as important. So how
Mm-hmm.
about I take content I've made, turn that into shorts, schedule at least one every other day or so, and that way I don't have to stress about, oh, I got to make a video on this. I got to make this long form video. I got to do this. I got to get all this B-roll and do all this. I can just use the shorts to feed the algorithms, but at the same time, give me time to focus on what I actually want to work on. And so I've had to balance that out. Like with games coming out this month, what we got? We got the Persona remake or Persona 3 remake is coming out. We got what else is there? The Suicide Squad and whatnot. I don't have any of those. I probably will get them.
Yeah.
But whenever they come out, I'm like, all right, I got the time to just focus and dedicate on that. I got my shorts all scheduled up. Like I got 2 or 3 months worth of shorts already set in schedule. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to relax, focus on that. That's going to keep going. And I can take time off. If I don't feel like recording, I can just spend it with my family.
Oh.
It's a process. It's a daily thing. But, hey, you got to work with it.
Yeah, so keeping that schedule going and that backlog, that way you're kind of always ahead, right? That way you can afford to take those days off and take it for your mental health or your physical health or to spend with family and stuff like that. That's so important.
And it's interesting because a lot of people will tell you, hey, just take a break if you need to. But and I'm of two minds on this, but
yeah,
the reality is with content creating, you don't really get to take time off.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, if you have momentum, if you halt that momentum, it is 2 to 3 times harder getting it back.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can come up with a way that will allow you to stay within your momentum, but also make regular content as well and not burn out, then go ahead and do it. Shorts is a way. I know a lot of people were against shorts and a lot of people still are.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, it destroys attention spans. Yeah, it does. It does destroy attention spans. But at the same time, everything now is trying to get your attention and get its message across within the first 15 to 30 seconds to 60 seconds. And if you can make it, and the way I look at shorts is it's a teaser. You go to a movie theater or you watch a TV show, they got a commercial with a teaser for something else you might be interested in. So what if you make a long form video? What if you take this, 10-minute video, 15-minute video, 20-minute video, or you take a 30 to 45 or hour or 2-hour podcast, you make a bunch of clips out of it. You make some that just gets people attention. Then they're going to be like, man, I need to watch that.
Yeah.
I need to check that out. And I'm thinking, oh, crap, this goes back to what I went to school for in marketing and journalism. How do you make that headline? How do you get people to tune in? It's all marketing. That's all it is. And so if you can leverage shorts, that way you're not having to do constant content to a point where you're just chained to your chair in front of your monitor, then by all means do it. Take advantage of it. That's just my thought on it.
And I see a lot of value in that because at least when I was in the Twitch space, it felt like you had to be live every day, all day to remain relevant. And if you missed a day, then it's like, everything's gone. All your subscribers forget about you. They forget to re-up on their Prime sub and all that stuff. So, I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. I mean, even if you're on YouTube and TikTok and all these different spaces, it's like, even if you have the luxury of making pre-recorded videos, it still has to have some consistency and some value up front, which, like you said, these trailers, shorts are really the teaser to lure you into the full video, which has been great for the fact that you have such successful interviews with people that are really interesting, that people really want to know what you two talk about on the show, and you have a chance to splice all that up and give it to people. So that's been really successful then, pivoting to shorts.
Yeah, it's been when it first got introduced on YouTube, it tanked everything else.
Yeah.
And I had to work my way through that middle barricade, but like shorts has been thing that has kept my channel afloat. It's done phenomenally well with like businesses now when they reach out for like brand deals or sponsorships with me, they're like, can you make a short or make an integrated ad into like turn that into a short instead of like a traditional video. Like I was doing one with that's one I'm doing now. I got one that I'm doing with name this company here. Moonwalker. So they do vapes and legal Delta 8, Delta 9 THC hemp derived gummies. I partake in that. You know, that is what I do. I know it's not for everyone, but I take those and they let me relax because I have PTSD. So it's hard for me to sleep. But with those, I'm able to relax, sleep, think clearly, meditate, and all that other stuff. And so this company reached out to me and they're like, hey, can you do some shorts and promote it and also do a stream? We'll sponsor your stream. I was like, all right, cool. You know, I've had other companies. I've done stuff with Sega, which I know we're going to talk about them later. I've done shorts and
There's
stuff
so
for
much.
them.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing now is like companies, a lot of them, they don't, they'll prioritize you doing a short video or short ad integration as opposed to a standard type of video. I had one for a back blade called, what was it? Yeah, it's called Backblade, the back shaver. They reached out to me. I'm like, yo, I don't have it. I'm the most hairless person aside from on my head there is. And they're like, hey, can you
I can't make a commercial about this.
And I was like, I don't have any back hair, but let me find some other ways I can utilize that. So like I was like, all right, so I can use this to shave my back. I can use this to shave my underarms. Like, ladies, if you need a leg shaver, there you go, because it can contort your legs. And they're like, hey, we didn't even think about doing it that way. They're like, can we use that B-roll? I'm like, yes. Here's the raw footage. Use it how you want to. Here's my fee for you to use it for a year.
Smart. Marketed that really well. So on that, I kind of realized, like, as I watched a lot of your stuff, I was like, this guy's got to be the hardest working guy out there, because the amount of games that you were like reviewing and pushing out like videos on a daily basis, I was like, when does this guy get anything else done? I mean, it's just incredible that you're able to do this level. And maybe that was while you were burning out. I don't know, but I mean, it's pretty incredible, the sponsorships, the products that you've been given to cover on your various, you know, your podcasts and your videos and shorts and stuff like that. And that's all an earned experience, you know. It's not he's so lucky that he has all these opportunities. It's, you know, you've built up this incredible show, and you have so much experience in this space and in marketing and journalism and all this expertise. So your passion shows through, and I think that's one of the key motivating reasons of why I wanted to speak with you.
No, I appreciate, and it's an honor being on the show, because like it's the main thing I try to tell people is any of the stuff that you see me doing, you can do far greater, and it's easier now than ever before. Like the stuff that I'm able to do now, 5 years ago, 6 years, 7 years ago, I couldn't get a company to like respond to me, period. But the biggest thing is like, if you can be persistent, you can be consistent, and, you know, get the content out, people will work with you. Eventually, opportunities will come towards you. Viewers will come to you. The biggest thing, I've had to do when it comes to like not only doing video reviews is I started doing years ago like written reviews on my website. And I've had a lot of people say, "Oh, that's just too much extra work." But the thing is, you have to look at YouTube and all these social media platforms that we're putting our content on. They are literally our walking resume. They are our portfolio of work, our body of work. And when companies, you're trying to approach them or you're trying to approach other people and say, "Hey, I'd like to, collaborate with you, or I'd like to have you on my show, or I'd like to work with you. Here's a list of what I have done so far," so they can see that. So yeah, I can make video reviews on games, and I'll be honest, like the worst performing videos I do are typically game reviews. And
Mm-hmm.
I understand that people go to, they go to who they're gonna go to. They're gonna go to Mr. Matty Plays, or they're gonna go to ACG, or they're gonna go to whoever they're gonna go to, because they have built that trust and a relationship. But I'm still gonna cover it. I'm still gonna write the written review. And if a company is like, "We need proof of your work, here it is." And I've had a lot of companies like, "Hey, you may not be getting me views, but hey, you got it written, you got it video." And then I started putting it on my podcast, on the Decked Up one. If I do a game review or tech review, it's a bonus episode I upload on it. And companies are like, "Yeah, we didn't even think about having creators do that." Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you get it, all the different angles. And so it's literally it's hard work. There is no guide to it, but like if you, like I said, consistency, and you just stick with like being persistent, you'll get there. And that's for anyone.
Wow. So you were saying a second ago there that sometimes you will do all of these various things and you might not meet perhaps the goal that a company might want, like a certain view amount or whatever. How does it go from there? I mean, I guess they're seeing that you put in the work and that you're doing this for like dozens of games and you're taking the time necessary to make the video and cut it up and split it in all these places, put it on your podcast, which you said no one had thought of essentially buying ad space on your pod to have you review their game, and then doing the written review.
So so most companies, they're gonna want, if it's a YouTube video, they at least want a minimum of like at least 500 views to 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes my game reviews, and it really depends on what it is. Sometimes they don't do that. Like The Last
Yeah.
of Us 2 remaster. I know PlayStation wasn't happy with the performance of that video,
Uh-huh.
but at the same time, it's slowly going up to like 500, if not already there.
Mm-hmm.
The shorts that I've done for it have gotten thousands of views. So shorts, as well as like TikTok and Instagram and such. So what the main video is lacking, they're getting that in the other platforms that are still going to link back to the original video as well as the website. So you can work around that. Some companies, typically bigger companies, are willing to be okay with it if you don't meet the performance metric. But it's a two-way street and it's a collaborative effort. So, and this is something that I have an issue with a lot of companies on that. It's like, hey, if you're going to give me a review copy or a review code for something, and I take the time to make the review, it helps when you reshare it,
Yeah.
because you can reach far more people. It doesn't cost them anything
Right.
to reshare, but a lot of companies won't do it. I don't
Mm.
understand why. They will reshare the big names, and I understand why.
Mm-hmm.
Bigger names get more eyes on your products. But the problem with focusing purely on big names is, how do you build the next generation of popular people or successful people. You can't just keep going to the same well. You got to build a new one. So, certain companies like WayForward, Inti Creates, NIS America, they don't have a problem with resharing. Capcom, kind of, sort of will.
Mm.
But yeah, it's for me, like if it doesn't hit the metric, it doesn't hit the metric. I'm like, hey, I did everything I could,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still going to push my shorts.
Yeah.
And I've had some companies like, oh, why are you going to do that? Because I'm making a dedicated video. I'm going to give you 2 weeks of dedicated promotion. Doesn't matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll set up. Okay, so this time I'm gonna hit you with this short. It's gonna detail this feature. Like I did that with PlayStation with the DualSense controller.
Yeah.
All right, so this is how you set it up. This is a quick tutorial on this within 60 seconds. Here's some of the feature set rundowns. And even when I'm making my videos, I'm thinking about shorts in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I say this, I say that, and in my head I'm making timestamps. Okay, go back to this point. That's a short. This point, that's a short, and it's just part of my workflow.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and companies sometimes forget this, and I know viewers often don't get this at all. But when you're making reviews and you're making even impressions in a way, it's essentially evergreen content, which it may not take off now, but at some point
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna keep going. I have shorts. So like, what's the game? Elix. I know the developers for Elix 1 and 2. I'm friends with them. And I teased them about the graphics of the game. I said, hey, 2008 Call, it wants its graphics back.
Oh.
So, and so like I shoot the stuff with them, and they shoot it back with me, and it's all in good fun. Like we're all friends at the end of the day. So I made that short, and that's the number one short.
Oh. Because of the burn, you think? A lot of people shared it. They were like, wow, this guy tells it like it is, you know?
Oh, I had folks. People are mad at me. They were mad at me for that one. And I'm
Oh,
just like,
no.
and people come. They've been coming back for the last 2-3 years, commenting on that short. Don't even watch the full review. They're just commenting on the short
Oh.
and in their feelings about it. And I'm just like, I can't even be mad. Like I don't even get mad when I get too much like hate comments or anything like that, because it's engagement at the end of the day. Because I
That's
can
what I
mute you,
realized. Yeah.
I can mute the words, and like the comments never come in. Like for
Mm-hmm.
instance, I'll bring it up here because
Yeah.
it constantly gets brought up. But I mean, I've told you. So like, folks bring up my hair.
Yeah.
Like people keep saying, "Oh, like, oh, you're wearing a wig," da da da. And I'm like, no, I'm not. And then they're like, "Oh, but you were bald." I'm like, I was bald a while ago. Sorry, my hair grows.
That's how it works.
First off, I'm very mixed. My hair grows very fast. So
Mm-hmm.
on top of like letting it grow, which for the longest stint of time, from 2019 to, because 2019 I started losing my hair. It was due to the effects of the chemo radiation and such.
Mm-hmm.
So like my hair just started falling out, and I didn't think I could grow it back. So for like the last 2 years, I've been doing derma rolling and microneedling, herbal oils on my scalp and everything, caffeine, and you can actually put coffee grounds on your scalp.
Oh,
Scalp
wow.
will be part of that. And my hair just started growing quickly. So when my hair started growing, I started saying like, hey, I want to get dreads. I want locks. So I
Yeah.
started growing that out, and I got it done. And then I was like, all right, but it ain't looking quite the way I want it to look. It's
Uh-huh.
looking, because when you first started doing dreads, it looks kind of rough.
Mm.
And so I got extensions on it, and then extensions weighted down, and then it grew to that point. And I was like, all right, now I'm starting to do auditions for TV shows out here, for voiceover work, for other things international. So I need to redo my whole look. So my natural hair right now is to here,
Mm-hmm.
and I just got extensions that made it longer. And so people who don't pay attention just assume.
Just
And it's
wow,
like,
really
and
taking a leap there. Yeah.
it's wild. People are like, man, you were just bald 2 weeks ago. I'm like, here's a picture from 2 weeks ago. What you talking about?
Dang.
And so,
It's got receipts, man.
so you always gotta have receipts in this field, brother. I'm just, it's something else, but not like yeah, like that's just something, man. I've had a lot of folks, I've had to mute those terms on my own channel because people were just trying to say that for the longest. And I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah, you don't have time to sit and argue in the comments about
Yeah.
hairstyles. You wouldn't get any work done.
No, not at all.
All right, so another topic of conversation I have for you, and I gave him a sneak preview, was that we did kind of have a thing happen on social media, and if you know, you know. But I mean, in general, I think the question or the topic at hand is that oftentimes content creators will be given codes and games and such access to these titles. And a lot of times, maybe the developer or publisher may shoot you like an information packet and say, like, you know, here's features of the game we'd like you to highlight, or here's an outline of what's featured in this, you know, demo that you're able to play of some early release of a game that you're covering or whatever. And they'll kind of throw you a bone, or sometimes even if they don't, you will at least be, having requested said game, you will be a passionate, you know, member of the audience that enjoys playing said game, so you would have probably some background or some knowledge. But I think lately, especially if you were on Twitter, you've seen some gamers in recent news that have not known about features of games and just kind of foolishly stumbling through promoting stuff, and maybe it's just really bad targeting from PR companies, or maybe it's the publisher, maybe it's the dev, maybe it's, you know, spending a lot of money thinking, well, this guy's a big shot that brings in millions of views. He brings in millions of views, so I mean, clearly we're spending our money wisely. But I think Mekel's brought this up, you know, in several posts. He said, like, why aren't you investing in Hawaiian content creators when you have so many video games that are literally based in Hawaii, or have concepts that are from heritage there? And so I kind of like you to, you know, I told him to, no, I mean, I didn't tell him anything. He, you know, he was like, how much you want me to hold on to the reins here? Like, so even I'm not sure how crazy we want to let him go off. But what are your thoughts on that, man? That's crazy.
Well, I will start this off by saying I won't say names.
Yeah.
Because I want to be completely respectful of this industry, even though
Yeah.
my
Same
posts
here.
on Twitter have gotten me some heat with said company.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I got some heat with them because they feel that I'm trying to push a narrative against them. And I'm like, I'm not trying to push narrative, but I have a question. If you're going to have a game set almost entirely in Hawaii, on Oahu, in primarily where I'm at right now in Waikiki, why do you not have any Hawaiian or Hawaii creators involved? Because here's a little secret industry, if y'all, and PR people, if y'all don't understand this about when you set your games in Hawaii or any of your stuff, if you include just one person from here, you get all the islands, you get all 8 of them, including Niihau, which doesn't use any technological advancements. It's interesting. We've had several games. Persona 5 actually had a portion set in Hawaii, and no creators were involved in that. Ubisoft last year with what's the game? And I said I wasn't naming current
Yeah.
games. But last year was the game, the Crew Motorfest.
Mm-hmm.
Let you drive all over Oahu. No involvement. And the thing is, it's not like you gotta pay us
Mm-hmm.
like you would certain big name influencers.
Yeah.
We would just be happy just having some type of involvement. Like case in point with Capcom for
Mm.
several of the games that they've worked on, from Monster Hunter Rise and more. You know, Lehua and I got to help out with that,
Yeah.
including Dragon's Dogma 2. I can let that out. Their team from Japan flew here.
Wow.
We needed to go around. We took them around. You know, we've done this multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we get accredited for it, get paid and accredited for it. Why can't other companies do that when you're going to literally set your game here?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if here's the other thing too, if you're gonna have creators that you're gonna go with because they have name value, like an XQC or a Jusky or whoever, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have these people with name value. Cool. I'm not hating on that.
Yeah. It's not
Get your
about that.
return. Yeah, like get your return on investment, but you could still, with your marketing budget, get some local faces out here. I mean, if they worked with the biggest creator from Hawaii, Bretman Rock,
Mm.
you got him on, like, get him to do something on his YouTube channel, get him to do something on the radio stations out here. People out here would buy it, even if they're not gamers, because it showcases our culture.
Yeah.
But it's and you know, I've had a couple reps from said company that have been very upset about how I have posted on Twitter, and I basically said to them, it feels exploitive. Like you're exploiting Hawaii and the culture for your marketing and promotion and setting for your game, but you don't want to include people from here. What kind of message does that send?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Sure is a nice backdrop, right? For a game. That's all.
know,
That's what it's sending, right? Like those type of
exactly.
vibes. The pretty
And
beaches, the pristine streets, you know, the palm trees, hula girls, you know, whatever.
yeah, okay. So here's what I wanted the approach, because I have not gotten a review copy of this game. I don't think I will
Yeah.
get one, which is interesting. I've worked with this company for like the last 6 years. They were one of the first companies that ever giving me a chance, and I've covered every entry, every game and entry in this series,
Ooh.
as well as all their other stuff. And this and the last one they've shafted me on. So when you have the approach I was going to take with my review of this game, since this is set on Oahu, primarily in Waikiki, I was going to showcase the scenes in the game and showcase what it looks like in real life.
Nobody else could do that, dude.
Nobody else.
Yeah.
But instead, what they have done is they flew people all over the world to the Ilokai Hotel, which is a block away from me, put them all up there, and not one Hawaiian or Hawaii creator an invite. And this is the second time said company has done that.
Jeez.
And it's like, we can either walk there, drive there.
Yeah.
If we need to hop from another island, that's only like $30-$40 for a flight. So it's not like it's hard to include people out here. But I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't understand the PR folks behind it. I don't understand the dev teams. Like, okay, so you just want to use Hawaii as a backdrop, and that's it. You know, I don't understand any of it, to be honest, and it's upsetting. If
Yeah.
I'm being completely truthful, it's very, it feels exploitive, but I don't know. I don't know. Here's another example of something like
Yeah.
our smartphones. Most of, well, not at Apple, but like Android phones use Qualcomm chips. Did you know every year they have the Qualcomm Summit on Maui in
Oh.
November? People, I'm talking all the big names in tech. Flossie Carter, uh, Mr. Mobile, some gadget guy, all these folks flown to Maui.
Wow.
Not one local or Hawaiian or Hawaii person there ever gets an invite.
That's crazy.
Actually gets turned away.
Yeah. I that doesn't make sense to me. Like, why even have it there if you don't even allow? Like, why not have it in California or something instead if you're not gonna invite locals? And it's not like you guys are invisible or not successful enough to get in the door. Each of these creators that exist in Hawaii are well known people. You don't get to where you are. I don't know.
Yeah. It's the thing that I have not figured out, and it's what has pushed me to speak out about it.
Yeah,
But speaking out, I guess that makes
gets
me
you a little
problem.
fire, huh?
Yeah, you're being a little problematic. That's like
It's
the company that I complained about and made a video about. Yeah, I flew to LA for their event.
uh-huh.
Didn't get to play the game. Didn't get anything I can make content on.
Yeah.
And made a complaint. They gave me a review code of the game that came out that I was supposed to be there to cover and be able to play.
Uh-huh.
On top of the fact, I was the only person that paid to fly there and
Oh,
get my own
wow.
place. But they flew everyone else from the world over. And because I made a complaint, I've been kind of 86 by this company.
Man, it's crazy how those relationships are handled.
The industry is
Very strange.
it's a very strange place, the industry, and I've gotten to a point where a lot of it I'm just kind of like, it is what it is. A lot of it I just try to ignore.
Hmm.
Because for as big as the industry is, everyone talks. That's in it.
Yeah,
It's very small.
it's very small.
And people are so afraid of any type of criticism that it often gets labeled as, oh, they're just hating. Like the LA thing for me, I got labeled as someone who's just hating.
You're just
And
saying.
then I'm like, I'm not hating. I spent over $1,000 to fly there to not be able to do anything. That
Mm-hmm.
money that I couldn't recoup from that. And I have a right to talk about it. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I did my video, I showcased like, yeah, this event was empty. People were leaving in droves. Here's footage of it. They did, and then because they hated that, they did a counter video and
Oh,
included
no.
everyone that they flew out there, except for me. And they're all like, "Oh yeah, I love it. It was such an event. It was so packed." And I'm like, "If it was so packed, then how come Game Informer walked out after y'all told him he couldn't? The people couldn't play and make content and coverage on the game."
Wow. I don't know why you would fly everyone out just for that, though, to not allow them to get any sort of anything out of it. It's got to be a quid pro quo here,
It has to be,
for
but
events like that.
there's a lot of clicks and favoritism in this industry. So, and the thing we have to remind ourselves is this is essentially an entertainment industry.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of BS you see in entertainment is also here.
It drips
A lot
over,
of
yeah.
click. lot of clicks. There's a lot of ego trips, a lot of self-importance. I do my best to just to not get caught up in it
Absolutely.
anymore. I used to get caught up in it. It used to make me very miserable. And it's like, am I not doing enough? Like, is there a reason I'm getting overlooked for this, and that? No, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But
man, I do think they're missing out on a one of a kind opportunity there, especially when there's games that are based in Hawaii and you have a chance to highlight it in a way that no one else does. You can literally be playing the game and walking the streets that you know of and pointing out, landmarks and stuff that no one else is going to know. Even if they fly out for a weekend, they're not going to remember, the cultural significance of things that show up in the game
mm-hmm.
the way you are. So, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like you would want to highlight stuff like that. You would want someone that's knowledgeable in the space to cover it. So, I mean, I don't know. It just makes sense. If you drop a game anywhere else, you would want content creators from that region to inform you and to be a part of the process and the promotion and maybe even involved in development in some way and making sure that the game is faithful and not just, whitewashing Hawaii or something, trying to give us some version that's inauthentic to what it really is, Oh, I don't want to go that far. I think I lit a fire. I saw his eyes light up, man. He was like, we can go off right now, but I mean, there's validity in hiring someone like you on as like a consultant or something when they're basing a game here, so that they're not,
I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like you just look at it and you question why these companies make the decisions they do. I know on the radio station 93.9 and 1027 The Bomb and big radio stations out here, and they were talking about it, like, hey, we got this. This is the third game we're gonna have set out here in Hawaii in recent years, and how come nobody out here is involved?
Right? Nobody came on the radio to announce the game or anything, Someone come by from the studio and promote it, and do a radio show.
And it's like, okay. All right. I guess we're good enough for y'all to use our home, but not good enough for you to use us in your work. But yeah, Hawaii being whitewashed, it's not exactly whitewashed. It's washed another way. I can't say that.
Yeah.
I canceled, but the marketing image that they showcase for Hawaii of what we Hawaiians look like,
very different, isn't it?
It's completely different.
So to shift to something a little brighter here, what's it like living there? Like, what? Just as someone that's never been there before, what is the experience like growing up there, living there now?
Expensive.
Yeah.
Expensive. Well, kind of. It's Hawaii is a place where think California prices, but probably a little bit higher than that by a percentage. It's what they call the price of paradise. It's very beautiful. It's not all rainbow and sunshines. It's not paradise. It's safer than a lot of places in the world. But we do have our own unique issues and uniqueness here. It's fun. I've enjoyed growing up here. Every island is very different. If you want something that's close to mainland, as far as like a city type of vibe, Oahu, and primarily staying in Honolulu. Once you go outside of Honolulu, it's pretty much country. You're not gonna see billboards everywhere. I don't think we ever had billboards out here. It's like every time I go to the mainland, I'm like, why is that up there? But it's like, yeah, you got billboards everywhere in the mainland. We don't have that out here. Typically You're always gonna eat good because it's like nothing but good food places out here. Doesn't matter what delicacy you want, what
Uh,
culture, we got it all here. Um, got a lot of big folks as we like to eat. We like to eat rice. A typical serving for typical serving for somebody else is like a snack for us. So,
oh man.
so we get plate lunches. You go somewhere like there's a spot down the street from me called Rainbow Drive-In,
Mm.
and you get a plate lunch is like $12. It's a big thing. You get big scoops of rice, big scoops, big like portions of meat, and you get Hawaiian delicacies like mac salad and such.
Mm.
And so, yeah, as far as eating, you're always going to eat good. There's always choices. Living is kind of a hit or miss. A lot of places, we're seeing a lot of renovations done to buildings out here because a lot of stuff hasn't been updated since probably the 70s, if
Mm.
not the 80s. So a lot of places are getting renovated to get new electrical and stuff. Like even like my condo now was originally a hotel,
Oh
and
man.
it's been they're slowly, room by room, floor by floor, renovating everyone. And I think we're the 10th floor out of 12. So we're probably a year out from getting renovations. But most of the places are old. Um, if you don't like cockroaches, there's a lot out here. Make
Oh
sure you get some
no.
raid. A lot of them. Um, a lot of places in Waikiki don't stay at hostels because they have a lot of roaches because the beach is
Oh
right there.
yeah.
Get a nice hotel if you're out here, or if you can find somebody to stay with us out here, stay with them, save some money.
Yeah.
Uh, but as far as hiking, there's always places to hike. There's so many beaches all over. Don't go to the spots with tourists. Like
No.
don't go to Waikiki Beach. Don't go to Ala Moana Beach. Like go to Kahala Beach or Sandy's or North Shore or um Barber's Point, anywhere but where the tourists are. Like once you get outside of tourists, it's the most beautiful place in the world.
See, that's
That,
what
that's
like, yeah.
like if you come out here for a few days, you come to this island, I'll tell you, you need to go eat at Rainbow Drive-In. You
Mm.
need to go hike Diamond Head, which is like right here from where I'm at. Um, go to North Shore, go to the other side, go to Waimanalo, go to all these other places. There's just always something to see and do out here.
That's so cool. So is the tourist thing, is it a real problem over there? Is it annoying? Are you constantly mobbed or in line behind tourists when you're trying to get your favorite food spot, or you're just trying to enjoy a sunset at the beach and then, some American tourist?
Well, see, and that
Mm.
depends on who you talk to.
Yeah,
Like some people, there is a sentiment here with locals who don't like tourists at all.
sure.
Um, I'm not of that mindset because I understand how the economy works here. Like we need tourism,
Yeah.
and for the most part, tourists aren't rude. They're not that bad.
Mhm.
There's a lot of anti everyone not from Hawaii that's here
Right.
from locals, and it's not. I feel like we need to shed more light on it because it's a problem because it's taught racism in a way. Like, yeah, you look at the history of Hawaii, it's murky
Yeah.
how it came to be part of the states, but at the same time, you have people that instead of trying to work on the situations we need improving in, we need to improve our education out here because we got some of we have the lowest in the nation. We need to work on broken homes and families and such like that. You can't get folks here to come together for that. You can get them to come together to complain about tourists and to boycott a telescope that was going to be built that was going to drive millions of dollars into the economy and help get
Oh,
us off
wow.
of tourism. But nobody wants to have that conversation. So we
Oh,
have
so
to.
that could have gotten you guys into research and science and space
Yeah,
stuff, right?
I believe it was either 2018, 2019. They wanted to, the U.S. government wanted to put up a satellite on Mauna Kea,
Huh?
and you had people come out in droves protest it because the mountain is sacred.
Oh, yeah. Well.
At the same time that they're littering
Oh, okay.
all
So
over
it's
the
a sacred mountain to litter on, but yeah, God forbid we throw a telescope there. No,
yeah,
not the double standard there.
yeah,
Oh.
and it was going to open up so many jobs, and we there's so much of a push to get Hawaii off of tourism,
Hmm.
but every time there's an opportunity for something like that, you get the people that the only time they come together for anything is to protest.
Oh.
They don't even vote.
Wow.
So it's like
So
you're kind of part of the problem,
yeah,
y'all.
not part of the solution if you don't become active in the solution. You'd rather just kind of. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's everywhere, but so and you alluded to this earlier that there's also a lot of places that are not, would the word be like civilized or is technologically advanced or something like that?
Um,
There are places that are a little more
there's
native.
there's one island, Niihau,
Yeah.
which is as traditional historical Hawaii as it is.
Wow.
You can only go there by invitation or if you have family that live there.
Hmm.
But like you can't fly over it, you can't swim to it, you can't take a boat to it. As the one island that a lot of people have probably never ever been to.
Wow.
Um and it literally outside of the government and the Robinson family, you can't have anything to do with that island. But
Hmm.
for the most part, a lot of places, I mean, we're having a lot of infrastructure upgrades on every island across the board. Well, I can't really speak to Niihau, but every other
Yeah.
island is getting, the renovations because a lot of stuff is just old, outdated. Culturally, people here aren't that into tech or gaming and such. They're very it's country. Very,
Yeah.
very you'll see frequently. Um keep the country or keep Hawaii. There's a lot of subtext in that, which
Sure.
is only wanting Hawaiians out here and no one else. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of thought racism and issues here that need to be addressed. But technologically, we're getting there in other areas, but a lot of places are undeveloped. Like if I went to Molokai, my wife is from.
Hmm.
Good luck trying to use any phone service there.
Oh no.
Good luck trying to get any internet there. That's not more than like 5 megs.
Hmm. But it's
It's just
beautiful
yeah.
country, and I mean that's the incredible part. I don't know. It'd be a lovely place to visit. It'd be really
You
cool.
should definitely.
Oh man, dude, that's so incredible. Is there anything else you want to highlight about your journey and about what you do and passion for gaming and where you're from?
Um, I think the main thing I want to do,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to use my platform to help other people. So if there's someone who says, "Hey, I want to be a creator and I want to do this," but I don't have any support. I want to be like, let me pull you under my wing. Let's see what you want to do and let's see how we can work towards setting some goals to get to that point. one of the things that I do, and a lot of people don't know this, but every year I speak at every college out here. So University of Hawaii on Big Island, Maui, here, Kauai. I speak at Chaminade University, which is where I graduated from. Hawaii Pacific University, which is the second college I went to and graduated from. And BYU, Brigham Young University. I speak at the colleges, I speak at the high schools about content creation as a career, because that's something the young people want to get into. And out here, because you already have I'm trying to think of the politically correct way to say this. But the idea that technology and all this other stuff is a haole or a white person thing is a very strong sentiment. Education is a haole or a white person thing.
Oh,
and
no.
It's like you have a lot of people, a lot of the students that I've talked to, a lot of the kids. I like to call them kids. I'm 30, I'm 35, about to be 36.
Yeah.
I'm close to 40. So a lot of kids will say to me, like, hey, I want to become a game designer. I want to do animations. I want to do robotics. I want to do this, but I don't have support from my family because they say, oh, it's a haole thing. You'll never be able to do it. There are no opportunities. There's some this, there's some that. Just go into construction or, just do music. When I talk to these young people, I'm like, all right, so I tell them the thing you're dealing with is someone who doesn't have vision. They don't have vision beyond what they can see, beyond what they can do. So if you want to get into this is what you're going to need to do. And you're going to have to apply yourself 110% to this at the same time maintaining your school, your work, your personal life. You're going to have to invest in this and in yourself. You're gonna have to work hard. And it's like any startup business. I tell people this all the time. You start up a business, you're gonna run in the red for about 3 to 4 years before you turn over profit. So when it comes to content, you're gonna be, for the longest time, you're gonna be streaming with nobody watching. You're gonna be making videos nobody's going to be looking at, but you can't be stuck right here focusing on that. You got to look 6 weeks out, 6 months out, 6 years out. Everything you do now has to be getting you to where you want to be, and you can't get distracted by any of the noise around you. Like if it's somebody telling you can't do something, but they're also not doing it, why do you need to listen to them? I always tell people, like, there's certain folks you need to be checking out to get a lot of your daily wisdom. Like Mr. Beast is one you can learn a lot from listening to him on shows. I'm trying to think of his name. Roberto Blake.
Yeah.
Wealth of information right there with him. Like, you listen to the people who have done it, who have succeeded, and who want to give back, because we have to give back just in the way it was given to us. To help us along the way, we have to give back to the next generation that's coming up behind us, and we have to pave the way for them to be able to walk on it, but also they got to pave it further so they can run, and pave it even further so the generation behind them can get in their Tacoma and drive down it. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
It's all about paying it forward, helping out, giving back. And with the students I've worked with out here that, hey, I want to get into writing, I don't know where to start. Okay, well, here's some examples of outlets that are doing this. Here's some of the work I'm doing. Let's cross compare to your stuff. Let's see, you're doing this, you're really strong in this area, you're not that strong here. How can you build up here so it can complement your strength? Like I'm like literally sitting down, like doing courses with these folks, how they can get better. And like, hey, if content creating isn't your strong suit, if you're not someone who's good with being on camera or being on a mic, there's VTubing, there's using these avatars, there's all these different things. And if not being on the creative spectrum is not for you, you can be in the production area. Like there's just so much that, I tell people here, like, get your education. That's first and foremost. It's not just a Howley thing. It's a global thing. We all need to know how to write, read, do arithmetic. That way we can cash our checks, make sure people ain't taking money.
Yeah.
That they ain't supposed to be. And we pocket in everything we need to. And you need to have skill sets. If writing is your specialty, build that up. Find ways you can apply that. If acting, acting and stage presence and voiceover work, whatever it is, find ways to build it up. And don't get dissuaded by people who have small visions of what reality is. And also, don't listen to folks that ain't never been nowhere. There's a lot of people that are from Hawaii.
Oh.
That have never left Hawaii. That have never been on a plane, let alone a boat. All they know is here. Or have never left their neighborhood in Waimanalo. So if that fool is trying to tell you something about how the world is, and they ain't never stepped foot outside of Waimanalo, I'm sorry, homie. Don't listen to him.
I can speak to that here in Texas. There's a lot of that too. A lot of people that have never left their small town out west, and they've never seen the broader world, the technology, the education, all these things. So, they probably look at content creation the same way people that are also not educated there would look at it as is like, oh, this guy's just playing video games and recording it on the internet for everyone to watch, and nobody's watching, so he's not making any money. And so they look at it as you're just kind of wasting your time, and you don't have skills, right? But what skills do you have as a content creator? What have you learned as you've adopted this career? I mean, what's the list? Listen, it's half parody and it's half like legitimate question. Because I'm gonna be writing it down. No.
I know. So the skills along the journey.
Yeah.
Script writing, videography, cinematography, acting, which goes into the on-screen presence.
Yeah.
Directing, because you gotta learn how to direct your videos once you're done with it. How am I gonna direct it? You gotta learn how to produce. You gotta learn how to be your own agent. You gotta be your PR person. You gotta be your mouthpiece on social media. You gotta learn how to be the business person that can negotiate with companies. You gotta learn how to network with other creators. You're doing so much that people don't understand.
Yeah.
What you're seeing right now on this podcast.
Yeah.
Is like 1%.
This is the easy part. This is the fun part right here. Right? The accounting and the editing and all the other stuff that you don't see that half.
Oh yeah, and make sure you do your taxes.
Yeah, oh my God.
Don't do taxes and
Woo! Get the IRS on you with all the all the money coming in.
Anything that you get is a tax write-off. So itemize all that. You buy some new gear, or you get some sent to you for a review, itemize it and write it off. And get an LLC if you can.
Yeah. Oh man. Limited liability, right?
That's something a lot of people don't like to talk about. The business, it's like
the business end.
People away. But not people need to know this.
Yeah,
like
because it's scary if you don't have some of this.
Literally, like the amount of people that we've seen, and I forgot. I think I was talking to my friend Tiggity, who's a Nintendo creator. We talked about this the other day about how the pandemic has done a lot to help and hurt creator sphere.
Sure.
Because you've got all these people that have flooded in, so you got more eyes on the product, more people wanting to be a creator, but you got so many people in the space that a lot of times companies don't even know who to work with. Then you've got a lot of people that take off doing one thing and not realizing that, hey, this might not be popular anymore. You need to pivot. And then they do anything to hold on to what they've been doing. and it's just not working out. And I'm like, yo, you're not trying to be another Tila Tequila.
Yeah.
Old reference. If you're old enough to remember Tila Tequila, she was one of the first influences out there.
Right.
But you know, like you gotta learn how to pivot. That's the biggest thing. Is a lot of people don't know how to pivot in this field. Like with the direction what we have now with shorts and how short form media has taken over. If you're not doing that, you need to learn. Like that's going to become a staple. You're going to have to learn how to do that. And there are ways, if you don't want to manually do that, you can get stuff like Opus Clip, and there's all kinds of different things out there. I use Opus Clip.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you this, Harvey, that has been a game changer for me. Because it is not fun having to sit here and go through all these videos and find a section to clip. You throw it in Opus Clip, and it's like, all right, we found this, and I can still tweak it. There's so many tools out there. I know AI is a touchy topic for a lot of people. A lot of folks scared of it. There's a lot of plagiarism with it and all this other stuff, but it's a tool. You know, if you can use it right, it can go a long way in helping you, because a lot of us, I'll be honest, a lot of us can't afford having a whole team.
No.
You know, there's a lot of people out here that have teams and they can do with editors and videographers and all this, and all they got to do is show up. I'm like, dude, I'm not rolling in that.
No.
so you know,
I was about to ask. Yeah, I was like, with the production, the amount of stuff that's coming out and how fine-tuned it is. It's like, I don't think he has a team, because he's got this right here. He's got the hours. The hours of no sleep. Put into it, man. So I mean, that's another part that people don't probably don't get. You know, it's always the numbers and seeing the likes and how many views are on a video or something. You know, people see that end, and you know, I think a lot of the numbers support the fact that it's like the top 10% of all creators have 10,000 subscribers or more, right?
Yes,
and then it's like, if you're getting 1,000 views per video, you're in that top, I forget what percent, but like it's even less than 10%.
I think it's like a 0.33 or something like that.
Yes.
It's crazy.
So like, if you're already in that section, which you are, you would consider yourself successful, or at least on a path to, like, you know, this is something that you could do and monetize and potentially enjoy for a long time.
Yep.
And we're seeing a lot of people exit the space recently, right? Like a lot of people either burning out or you know, because it is like an endless game. It's like an endless grind here. But we're also seeing people that already made their bag, like they got enough, they're set for life, and they're like, I just want to be a dad, and you know, I want to see my wife again, and not have to think about how I'm gonna turn every moment of everything I'm doing into content, you know.
And that's something people don't like having an open conversation about, you know. And I've had a lot of conversations with people about that. And I'm talking like big influencers having these conversations with me, and it's about the anxiety and stress that this can do to you, where you get to a point where, because everything is flow in, flow out, it's like a revolving door. When it comes to, like, if you're covering games, how do you get to enjoy a game? You know, you literally think of 2023.
Yeah.
Every week almost had something coming out.
And every week was a Game of the Year title, to be to be pretty much clear. It was like,
you know, so like, how do you get to enjoy that? You're constantly working. You're constantly, and same thing with tech. I mean, I feel bad for the tech creators that like constantly get like TVs and monitors and desktops. How do you get to enjoy any of that?
Yeah.
Like, it's a revolving door. Like, as soon as you get something, then you got to look at the fact you need to get it out before the embargo. Well, by the time of the embargo, you got to make sure it looks good. It's got to be out before the general public, because a lot of times the general public has something, viewership's going to tank. Still make the content on it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But you're at a point where this can take a toll on you, and you have to take steps to protect your peace of mind. It's not easy. It's a lot of stress. I've gotten to that point a lot of times when I'm playing a game and I stress out. I'm like, I shouldn't be playing this because I need to make a video out of it. And then when you get to a point where that's your predominant thought,
Yeah.
almost anything you do, that's not good.
Well, that's the problem with the Steam Deck. I was like, I can't install this game on here because that's part of my playthrough for YouTube, or I'm making a review off of this game. I can't start playing it. I'm going to need that like early beginning of the game footage or whatever, the action set piece or whatever for a video or something. So, yeah, you do press these limitations and this pressure, and a lot of people don't have off-stream games that they play or just stuff that you play for fun that you're not having to create content around.
Yeah, and the other thing too, adding on to that, is with how social media is now, the trends like within a day just shift so much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we went from folks talking about what was the last big game to now everyone's talking about Power World.
Yeah, Power World is on fire, and everything's got lovers and haters, dueling and controversy.
I played that game yesterday, and I'm like, oh, this is an amalgamation of a lot of things, but it's fun. I can turn my brain off a little bit, but then how long is that game going to stick around?
Yeah.
You ever feel like that? Like when you're looking at games that's coming out, you get invested in it. Well, actually, no. I think we both like that Avengers.
Yep.
And it's like we saw how that went.
I built my whole channel around that. I was getting successful. Pivoting.
It's one of the things that I kind of dislike about gaming now is stuff can be out for like a few weeks or a few months, and is like developer support is done. Like games don't last anywhere near as long as I feel like with support like they used to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the downside of games as a service being the primary model now.
Yeah.
I don't know. Going through three different decades of gaming, I'm at a point now where I'm like, I'm the old man yelling at the clouds.
It's so real though, because I feel like the longevity of a lot of the games that we probably had growing up, and without even going back insanely far, I feel like we could even pick stuff from like PS2, Xbox, GameCube era, like not even super far back, right? And we could say that some of those games had a lot of long-term replay.
20 years ago, though.
Yeah, don't say that. But but it was like, dude, how many times did I replay Metal Gear Solid 3? And it was like a different playthrough every time, because I would do it a different way, or there was some secret I was chasing, or some unlockable, or trying to do some stupid challenge, whatever it may be. Like, there were dozens of games that were like that you could always go back to. And it's like, that's another thing we don't do. There's no games that we go back to unless it's a live service game that's continually updated, season pass, battle pass, yearly DLC, your Destiny, Division, Warframe, Rainbow Six, Apex Legends, and some of these things are fads. Battle Royales shifting out, extraction shooters coming in, and even fighting games, right, are starting to have like season passes and characters introduced over time, over years. And even Injustice 2 had like the gear grind of like, and that kept me super invested in the game because I was constantly grinding for new moves or new characters or new parts of their gear to equip to make them more powerful, which I never understood how that could be balanced, but somehow it can be. But it's crazy, and we've seen a lot of games go by the wayside. I think there were, like, remember the dodgeball game, Knockout City, came out a little while back?
Oh,
There were a lot of games like that had like a really good premise, and they would have, monetization, their season pass, their battle pass, their unlockables, their cosmetics that you can buy or whatever. And you're like, okay, people are playing this, it's on fire. And then a year later, the studio's shutting down, the servers are being, either cut off or pivoted to some open source thing to somehow keep it going. And even the same with Friday the 13th. I think was it Friday the 13th? Yeah, like, successful game, launched really well. And then they're like, hey, we're at the end of our development cycle. And it's like, but this is like people still want to play your game.
Didn't they do that also to like the Evil Dead?
Yeah, Evil Dead as well. And Evil Dead was really successful, right? And then now we have Texas Chainsaw, and I think the same process will probably happen there. It'll probably hit a certain point, which, even though it's great and it's got a good source material and it's got people actively playing, it's really hard to maintain that audience. And I feel like Anthem made every mistake there was to make in the live service genre. And despite all the hype that we had, and I was all about that game. I bought it on like 2 platforms. I was digging it, man. I was like, BioWare making a big open world mech Iron Man. I was like, I'm sold. But then, there wasn't much on the surface. And then Avengers goes and tries to do the same thing. And I think what scares me is that free model that they went with was like, all the characters are free. All the expansions are free. I'm like, dude, how are you going to keep the studio open if everything's free? You need to be charging for the expansions. Everybody does it. Destiny does it. Division does it. World of Warcraft, they charge for all their expansions. You can't just give everything out for free.
Well,
14, right? And you can't just expect to make money off cosmetics, even if they do look dope. And Suicide Squad, I think, is doing the same thing. Their seasonal content is supposed to be free as well. So I'm a little concerned because everyone's kind of went that route. And I don't, I get really excited for these games and I want to support them. And, if I'm buying cosmetics and if I'm, investing my time in the game and doing this whole gear grind, I want it to add up to something. Unfortunately.
One game I want to throw in there.
Yeah.
That people have completely forgotten.
Uh-oh.
I was huge on it. Outriders.
Oh, not Outriders. I love that one. Yeah, it fizzled out pretty quick, didn't it?
It did. And that game was good.
And it was fun. Remember when games were just fun?
Oh, man, we can't talk about that anymore.
No, that's been outlawed. Just like dancing and Footloose, It's like but like that,
yeah.
I can only go back so far. Like, I still think the Batman Arkham games might be my last example of like when a game was just so much fun. It's just fun to beat people up in that game. And sure, I think Spider-Man captures that too, but I mean, that to me is an example of something that you can continually go back to that didn't have to be a live service and all this other stuff. And you probably have games like that, right? That you're like, this mechanic is pure fun and I enjoy everything about this game and I can go back to it anytime.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, I'm kind of worried about the future of gaming. I mean, we're already seeing the decline of physical media, which, okay, we can have an honest discussion about physical media.
Yeah.
Games haven't fully been on a disc for decades at this point.
Yeah.
It has been literally a DRM disc.
Yeah.
Everything downloads from it, and you need the disc as a DRM like authenticator.
Mm-hmm.
The last time we really had games playing fully off the disc was the PS2 360 era, PS2 original Xbox era.
Yeah,
and that was 20 years ago.
Oh, so we lost the war already, is what you're saying. So all the folks online that are whining about why didn't Alan Wake 2 get a physical copy, well, it's because physical copies don't exist anymore.
No, and not only that, but people aren't really buying games physically.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you could say that the industry has pushed it, but I think society as a whole, since we've gotten to this point of convenience
Yeah.
with just downloading or streaming stuff, people don't want to physically get up and go get a disc.
Want to go talk to the cashier and do the walk of shame that I just bought Dead or Alive Extreme 3 for the Switch and got to take it home from and they're judging me and they're like, this guy's probably going to go look at these bikini girls all night and whatever it may be. Or you're there buying, Animal Crossing or something and you're getting roasted by the GameStop guys. It's like, come on, man.
The folks who oftentimes don't know anything about what they're selling.
They know less than my mom does, okay? Yeah.
Dude, it's so crazy. I went in, I was trading some like extra controllers I have for the Xbox Series X.
Yeah.
And the guy at GameStop was like, he's like, is this a PlayStation controller? And I'm looking at him, I'm like, what does that symbol look like? He's like, I don't know, that's a PlayStation, right? With a big X.
X for PlayStation, my guy.
Saying this at the same time, he's trying to push me into re-upping my GameStop Power Player whatever thing.
Yeah, you didn't resub?
Oh man,
you just killed that man's numbers, man.
Yeah, he needed he had to make his
he needed bad
quota.
Oh my god, it's rough out there. I do think that there is sort of several bubbles maybe that are about to burst. I mean, I think there's probably a bust around gaming itself, but I think there's an even bigger bubble that's bursting in game development, right? With all the layoffs, right? And we're seeing people at the top get the pay raises and stuff, while the big gambles that they put in where they say, we're going to make this game and this game and this game, and we're going to do all these AAA experiences. And then when one of them flops, it's like everybody at the bottom gets let go, or maybe it's not even that. Sometimes you have a completely successful game and then everybody gets laid off anyway too, because it costs so much just to make that really successful hype title. So I think there's a bubble there. There's two bubbles there. But I also think gaming journalism is something that's about to bust too. Because, you don't have trust in these outlets anymore. It's all clickbait. It's all, we want to post about how Starfield's the greatest game 1 week, and then 3 weeks later we want to, look at the player count, it's down now. And it's like, well, it's been 3 months. Everybody played it. They put their 600 hours in or whatever. And yeah, maybe they'll come back after they finish Baldur's Gate or something else. It's like we were barraged by like dozens of Game of the Year bangers every month. And that bubble is happening. It's hitting them, but I think it's also hitting content creators, where it's like, do we trust these people? Everyone calls us shills now. If we happen to enjoy something, if we dislike something, then we're called a hater.
There's no in between. that's the part that just gets me, and I'm like, how do we not have an in between at this point?
Yeah.
No, I think we definitely are at a point where this bubble is gonna burst, and we might have another 1983. I think it's 1983 game crash.
Yeah,
we might have that. I think Nintendo's gonna be fine.
Yeah, I think so.
But I mean, PlayStation, can they afford to go through that right now? And they're bleeding money everywhere that they can. That's not PlayStation.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that they don't care about the VR.
Right.
I have one. I have it. I love it. I just wish there was more games for it.
They don't invest in their outside platforms like the PSP, the Vita. You know, they had a couple bangers on each one, and I love those things with all my heart. And then they just never really pumped anything through it.
No, like they don't seem to have much faith in it. So like as soon as something comes out, they the first thing they want to do is, all right, we'll give it like a couple weeks and then we're gonna pull support. Like,
That's insane.
No, you would never see Nintendo doing that. Even when they're failing, they stick with it.
Yeah.
This is the greatest thing ever, the Wii U.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah, the Wii U. But you wouldn't have the Switch without the Wii U, right? Because the innovations that happened, right? Like the tablet and all that big clunky thing.
Yep.
I think it was a failure in marketing, though. They should have named that something else entirely. Because Wii U doesn't even make sense, does it?
No. They should have called it Super Wii or Wii 2 or something. And then you think back to all the marketing that they had for it. They never showed the console. They only showed the gamepad. So you had people confused, like, is this an add-on? Yeah. Like the casual folks. I remember when I was in GameStop working back then when it came out. I was selling folks left and right on it. Like, yeah, you know, your kids can be watching their shows and you can just pull this up and just start playing, you know, the original remote play device.
Yeah. Yeah. You know? That was ahead of its time in a way.
It was. And it's crazy how like folks just, you know.
They went from the best-selling console like ever to that. You know, they shifted from the Wii to that. I mean, you couldn't go into a GameStop or anywhere and find a Wii. I mean, for just years.
Yeah.
And Christmas was even worse. If you were trying to shop around the holidays, it was like, no, we've been sold out already. What do you mean? No, we're not getting more. Like, if we do, they will be gone as soon as they get here.
And that's one of the things, like, you know how, like, with the console generation, this current one, how you couldn't get a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series for like years, and now you can easily get them. But there have been things that have been put in place to circumvent that type of issue. You got certain TVs that are coming out. What is it? Samsung TVs coming out with they've got Xbox built into it
with an integration.
Yeah, like we're gonna see more and more of that as we go, because they're going to find ways to stop the scalpers, because scalpers aren't helping them make money.
That's even worse, yeah. I barely got my PS5. I was lucky I got one at launch, man. I was clicking, just kept adding it to the cart and kept refreshing, and I got really lucky.
Dude, I couldn't even get it. I couldn't even get one that way. Like, I had my friend who was working at GameStop, he called me. He's like, hey, bro, I'm going to need you to come in the store and let me know which one you want, the PS5 or you want the Series X or Series S. I said I want all three.
Damn.
Said,
okay.
I'm like, but I want one of each. I need one for me. I need one for my wife. He's like, all right, cool.
Hooked you up.
He don't work there no more, so. You know,
oh no. Well, hopefully it wasn't because of that, right?
Nah, he wanted to go into something else. He's doing government work now, but
yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, when that came out, I was like, man, I'm gonna miss out on this. But that's another thing too. If y'all can, if the audience, if you can make friends with some of the folks that work in retail, they can give you the scoops on stuff.
Those banger relationships that I used to have with employees there, you know, to get those hookups to make sure that I could cover whatever it is I'm going to cover, or get that special edition of a game that I want. You know, I'm your whale customer. Like, you should roll out the red carpet, man. I'm pre-ordering left and right. You know, when I need a console, it should be right this way, Mr. Shack. So,
you know, let me ask you this. When's the last time you've had to line up for like a midnight release for something?
I think it was Red Dead Redemption 2, man. I can tell you, yeah, that was the one. That was the only one I was like, I gotta have a physical copy. I gotta be there.
So
4, 5, 6, 8 years ago? Was that 8 years ago? 2016 was Red Dead, or 2018?
2018, I think.
2018.
Good God. Yeah, and it doesn't even feel that long ago.
No, it doesn't.
But like that was a thing, and I think the future generations are not gonna have to do.
No,
I don't
that's
think they're
dead and
interested
gone,
in it
isn't it?
either.
No, they wouldn't be.
I'm like, dude, I remember going to midnight launches and how hyped that used to be, and now folks talk to young folks now, they're like, why would I do that?
Yeah. Just stay home and download it, play it right away.
Crazy, man.
Well, I could talk all day, man, but we got to wrap this up. Anything else you want to soapbox about? Any closing thoughts?
Yeah. When you coming on my show?
Anytime, you name it.
I got open availability, bro. When you free.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk. I would love to. Be my honor to come on. Talk about whatever you want to talk about, man. Appreciate you being here, man. This incredible opportunity to be able to sit down and talk with you. Your wealth of knowledge. You're someone who's passionate about what you do. You're a positive voice in this space, which I feel like is really rare. So, I mean, keep doing what you're doing, and just know that you're valued and you're needed in this space, probably now more than ever with everything that's going on, the bubble that's about to burst. Everything's going to be chaos. But yeah, just know that you inspire people.
That means I need to get back on.
Oh yeah.
I need to get on. I've done so much to not be on social media as much. Because do you not agree?
In a healthy way? Yeah.
It can ruin your enjoyment of a lot of things.
Oh, it'll take the passion out of anything you love. Yeah. To sit there and argue with people on the internet, but the mute button's a powerful tool. The block button, just ignoring certain trends and conversations and just focusing on what matters to you and the positives, and focus on the news, focus on the content.
I'm trying to get 3 people so y'all don't get this. I use eye creamer to try and get that to go away.
Oh yeah, I'm trying.
I don't get enough.
Not working.
It's like it's crazy. I didn't have this in my 20s. I have it in my 30s.
Yeah.
Anyway, man, it's been an honor being on this show. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on. Yeah. Absolutely. I think there's lots of, we could definitely get in on like just even a topic and laser focus and get in on several things, but I wanted to kind of give, a broad introduction of who you are and what you do, and get into some hot topics that are pretty, hype in the industry right now. So, all right. Thank you for being on. Gamers, you can find all of Mr. Kasanova's information in the description down below. Make sure you head over there and follow him on all the platforms. Catch his podcast. Check out his content. If you're an anime nerd, you're going to love it. It's the conversations that they have on the podcast. It's knowledgeable. It's deep breakdowns. I tried to watch that stuff. I wasn't even knowledgeable on some of the shows, and I was like, dang, this is like a philosophical analysis of the characters and their motivations, and I don't know, it's just, so if you're not subscribed, you're missing out. So thank you all for watching. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.